Howdy folks, Joe DeSanto here. Thanks for joining me in another Quicken Mac video. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to talk about the difference between, excuse me, I'm going to center myself, the loan account versus the liability account. In essence, they do the same thing. However, the loan account has a few extra features that may or may not interest you, while the liability account is kind of like a kind of agnostic, sort of no feature setup. So if you've been trying to figure out why you would choose one over the other, this is the video for you. I mean, you hit a home run today. Okay, otherwise, before I get into it though, I do or would like to ask you, if you like my content, please do the old like and subscribe. That really helps me out. And also, I wanted to mention that I have some subscription tiers now on YouTube, and they're both about more advanced Quicken content. So one tier, the lower tier, is essentially what I just said, more advanced Quicken content, stuff that isn't available on my channel at large. And then the second tier is a higher tier where you get, of course, the advanced content in the first tier, but then you can also request I make a specific video about Quicken to meet your need or question. And it's a monthly subscription service, so if you're a subscriber to the top tier, you can request one video a month, and I will prioritize that. Okay, so check those out, otherwise, let's get into the video, loans versus liabilities. Okay, so loans versus liabilities. Let's just jump into it. I'm going to go in most of the time you're going to run into this if you are setting up your mortgage or perhaps setting up your car loan if you want to track that. And then, of course, there's other loan types out there that you may or may not need to set up. But I'm going to go over here. And, when you set up an account, it kind of prompts you to set up an account that would be connected, so like maybe your bank account or whatever. Now, many mortgages at banks can be also connected to Quicken. I think in the mortgage video, I cover the reason why I don't bother to do that, because it's just, more stuff to keep working, and it doesn't bring that much value because there's very few transactions going in and out of a mortgage account. But anyway, that's the side topic. But if you're not going to set up a connected account, or at least connect it right off the bat, there's these options for offline accounts. And down here you have liabilities, and the three options that they show are mortgage, auto loan, and other loans. Now, all three of those things are a loan account versus a liability account, and I'm going to show you the difference of the two. But first, I'm going to set up this liability account. So the liability account is a kind of agnostic or no feature version, right, of the loan. So if you go to do this, it's going to ask you some questions and say the name. So we'll go test loan here. It's going to ask you when you want to start tracking it. We'll say March 1. And what's the loan amount? $50,000, we'll say. And it's for personal use. And it's going to set it up really quick, right? And the loan account, it's basically a register where you have money can come in and money can go out. And of course, in that are many details and what have you, but it's a basic, simple, register. And it starts out when you create a loan account, especially if it's like, I don't know, mid-loan versus, you creating it when you created the loan. It'll just do an opening balance to get your balance to where you want it to be. Now, if you were actually getting this loan today, right, so say you're just getting a personal loan from a bank, the $50,000 would become the liability in the loan account, but the money would actually go into probably your checking account. So instead of having this be an adjustment or, a sort of opening balance equity, you might have the loan amount go over into a checking. This is a little bit off topic, but I'm throwing it out there while we're here, right? So if I did that, hey, there you go, like the money showed up, in my checking account, and it came from this loan. It created this liability. That really has nothing to do with loan or liability. That would be true in both cases, but just mentioning that. But anyway, in the liability account, you're off and running. There's not much more to it. So what's going to happen is now you're going to start paying that loan payment, and that loan payment, maybe, let's just say there's no interest. You're making 10 payments, $5,000 a month for 10 months. When you make that payment out of your checking account, you're gonna categorize that into the loan, and it's gonna make the loan go down. Now, let's now check out the liability account, which does all the same things I just mentioned. It's the same thing, but it has additional sort of fun planning features that some of you might like or some of you might think are useless, and you want to stick with the liability account. So if I go back to offline account and I just go other loan now, we're going to call this a test loan as a oh my goodness. I'm going to go change this. Sorry, this should have been test liability just for organization's sake and not to confuse anyone. Okay, so back to here. We're going to go now and do a test loan versus liability. So test loan. And you're going to notice here that a lot more options will come up. So of course it's going to ask, hey, what's the opening balance or the balance, currently, or the original balance in this case. What's the current balance? In our case, we'll put 50,000 also, but you might be setting this up, midway through paying down a loan or mortgage or something like that. So you might have a different original balance and current balance. Let's just say the loan length is 10 months, as we mentioned before. Not going to say there's any interest for now. We'll say the first payment is today, March 2nd, and we'll make the compounding period monthly, but we don't have any interest, so that doesn't matter. And the payment schedule is monthly. So over here you see, hey, I'm setting, automatically Quicken's going to set up a loan payment scheduled out for you that will drop into your register every month if you want it to for the loan payment. And it's doing the math here. It's saying, hey, you're telling me that this loan is 50 grand, you're going to pay it off for 10 months, no interest. Well, that's 5,000 a month. That's what the loan payment's going to be. Let's say, for instance, you did have interest, okay? Now what's happening is Quicken is going to set up a loan payment that has an amortization schedule, right? So you're like, hey, it's going to be paid off in 10 months, 5% interest. I'm going to set up a payment. Quicken is saying this. I'm going to set up a payment, but I'm also going to build in the interest and the amortization schedule so that at the end of the 10 months, I will have recorded all your principal paydowns and all your interest. Now that is kind of handy, honestly. However, what I found is Quicken can't get the amortization exactly right because banks do amortization slightly differently. Now it gives you different compounding methodologies, and that will change. You would see the way it calculates the interest, but I've never seen it able to match up the amortization to my mortgage exactly, right? So what that means is, if you're going to be exact about it, at the end of the year, you're going to have to go do a kind of adjustment transaction anyway. I actually have a video about doing that in my Quicken Advanced tier, if that interests you. But in any case, you can see here that this is one feature where it's going to create a loan payment schedule. If you want it, it will create an amortization schedule. Most likely that'll be very close to what the real loan does, but not exactly. And then you can continue on. And then you can tell it, hey, where do you want this payment to come out of? And do you want to do a reminder? Let's say yes, and we finish. And now we're in the loan. So if you and you see it's very different. It's kind of cool. It's got this whole amortization pay down graph. It's got some other stuff. If I go back to the liability, all I have is the register. Not as exciting. The other cool thing it does have, it has the what if section. So what if I made, one extra payment, make a one-time payment now of, I don't know, $6,000. How does that affect my payoff based on my current payment schedule and so on? Essentially, I pay off the loan early, right? So imagine this is your mortgage and this amortization graph is going out, 20 years. This could be handy to play with this. Obviously, there's lots of mortgage amortization calculators and prepayment calculators online, Quicken is bringing all that into the software so you don't have to go online. So pretty cool. The payments tab here is the actual register itself. So you have multiple things in here. You have a visual progress. You have your register that has your actual individual transactions. You have the what if calculator. Now, I also noticed when I was preparing this video that Quicken Mac has a convert to liability option. So if you decide, hey, I set this up, but it's annoying, I don't want to look at the graph, the amortization schedule's not right, I don't like that, you could convert it to a liability after the fact, and it'll just go back to looking like this. The PC does not have that, so go Mac. You get an extra feature there. So that's basically it. That is the difference between the loan and the liability. The loan gives you different features of the what if, of the visual progress bar. It will create a payment and amortization schedule. You'll notice here, once you do that, set it up, it'll have this loan payment in here. You can then edit that series if you want, and you can make it automatically enter the register and so on. If I look at our calendar view in Quicken Mac, we're going to see that every month on the 2nd, we're going to have our test loan payment in there. So if you do the calendar budgeting thing, all that will go into your calendar. So it actually is kind of handy. But if you're just like, I don't need all the bells and whistles, I just want a more malleable, sort of easily adjustable account, and that's probably more an advanced user thing, you can go with the liability. So there you go. Simple enough. I hope that is helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.